Team Black, baby. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miscellaneous Gab and it is HOTD Season 2, Episode 1. It's the premiere. I'm so excited. I really just want to soak it in and then I'll have a little bit of a recap and review as well. So if that sounds good to you, if you're okay with spoilers for the first episode of Season 2, no book spoilers, then grab a snack, grab a drink, hang out, and let's get into it.
1 hour later.
That was a lot. That was a lot to take in. I'm still processing. Important thing to note here, I'm not a book reader. I'm just a big fan. So I'm not going to be making any comparisons to the book, but here's my initial take. So I feel like with what just happened, with what I just saw, I feel like HOTD is like a giant game of like telephone telestrations where things are just getting mixed up, but though they have like devastating consequences. The episode begins and there's a new intro. Same song, new intro. A thread, a tapestry threaded with blood and strings and ties, and they're recreating some moments from the past of the Targaryen household. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you like the new intro? We start at Winterfell. Super cool, but also very brief. I really thought we would get more of Jacaerys in Winterfell, so I was a little sad to see that, happy to see the wall, but I thought it would be a lot more diplomacy, politicking. But I suppose if this really does begin like hours or days after Luke was chomped by Vhagar, then so we see Jace get the news of his brother's passing. Then we swerve back to Dragonstone. We see Rhaenys, who is on patrol, so she is fully Team Black. Daemon is still very bloodthirsty. They have a little kerfuffle. He's ready to go. He just wants to go kill Vhagar. He wants like to put a quick but bloody end to all of this. Immediately, we get the name of the episode. I didn't know how on the nose, on point all of this would be, but Daemon says at the beginning, let's make it a son for a son. Let's just have an even exchange here. We briefly check in on Corlys. He's walking with a cane. He's welcoming back a ship from the Stepstones. So we know that having the Velaryons on their side is going to be huge because they do bring that sea power, that water power. We see High Tower men and Arik or Eric, whichever one, ready with a scorpion bolt, ready to shoot down any dragon that they see. So we see King's Landing is highly guarded. I think we got into kind of an interesting challenge because Vhagar is really the Green's greatest asset by far. And either Vhagar needs to guard King's Landing or Vhagar can go intimidate and or roast their enemies. However, if Vhagar leaves King's Landing, that leaves a huge vulnerability in King's Landing. Then we check in on the Greens. So what's going on with the Greens? What are all the Greens up to? We see Helena is crocheting again. She is speaking in riddles. And then we see Alicent and our boy Kristen Cole. They are not behaving very appropriately. Let's just say that. There's always been some tension between them. I think that at first they were like super into each other because of their own cloaks of righteousness, as Rhaenyra would call it, but now it seems like they've abandoned some of that righteousness and are just like scratching their itches, you know. The High Council, now this was something, especially as a non-book reader, I was really curious to see like what kind of king is Aegon going to be. We obviously know that Aegon is not a good king. You know, I was hoping that they wouldn't just do a repeat of Joffrey, just some little psycho. We obviously know that Aegon is a rapist. We know he's a creep. We know that he is not a good guy. But I actually thought just seeing him be kind of like goofy and also eager to please and really just not taking anything seriously, I thought that was super interesting. So he brings his son, the heir to his throne, into his High Council meeting. And then I love how he's kind of just bullying Tywin Lannister. When we saw him sitting on the Iron Throne and listening to all of his people kind of petition him with what they needed, we see that he really actually just wants to give them what they want, because I think Aegon really wants to be liked. I think that he wants to be loved and he wants to feel accepted by the people. We see Otto stop in and be like, hey, we can't do that. You can't just give this guy all his sheeps back. If you give this guy his sheep back, you have to give everyone their sheep back, and we need the sheep for the dragons. We do see like that Aegon, I think because he's still fresh to death, like I know that this is a year and a half later that we're watching this, but this is really supposed to take place very soon after the end of season 1. So Aegon is still figuring this whole king thing out. We see him listening to Otto, but then we kind of get the understanding that maybe there might be some tension, that Alicent and Otto maybe only have control over Aegon for so long. We check in with Larys, the creepy rat. He's back being more of a creep than ever. It seems like he has investigated and offed all of the staff that were traitors. As we know from before, we know that Talia, who was one of Alicent's handmaids, was in the White Worm's ring of spies. Larys thinks he's taken care of the White Worm, and he has replaced all of Alicent's staff. This is more of Larys just working his evil little way into things, but also to further sow that divide between Alicent and Otto. We also see that when Larys pulls Aegon aside and kind of says like, hey, you know, your dad was a kind of a pushover. What does he have in common with you? The hand of the king. So I think he's sort of planning that in Aegon's head, and we will definitely see that become more of a thing. Rhaenyra is a little bit missing in action. I know we saw her, she had blood on the mind at the end of last season. There's this idea that you kind of have to see your child's remains, or you have to see the body to really come to terms with your grief. And I think right now Rhaenyra is in a hard place of wanting to be a grieving mother and also being a queen. Honestly, like the performance of Emma Darcy is just, I cried multiple times when she's on the beach finding the dragon wings and some of Luke's possible clothes or his blanket, when Jace actually comes to her and is treating her like a queen, and then they just cry and embrace that. Like I just think that because Rhaenyra, she is a mother, she is a queen, she is all these things, she's such a multifaceted character, that playing of the grief and despair was just like, that really hit, and that was so incredibly well acted and well done. So shout out to that actress. We also see that really beautiful parallel when Rhaenyra is having the funeral pyre for her son, and we see Alicent lighting her prayers for those fallen, and she lights one for Lucerys Velaryon. So I thought that was just a really beautifully shot scene. We kind of have the culmination of the episode, and this is really where a son for a son comes into play. Now, like I said, I have not read the book, so I know that there's going to be revenge. I knew that, but I didn't quite know what form that would take. So we see Daemon sneak his way into King's Landing. Now remember, he was always homies with the Gold Cloaks, and we see that the Gold Cloaks don't really have too much loyalty to the High Towers. I loved how that guy's like, fuck the High Towers. Anyway, Daemon gains access to the rat exterminator, the guy who goes and kills the rats, basically gives him money to pay off this man's debts. He's a gambling man. I want you to, K-word, I want you to take care of, eliminate the queen's son. He has silver hair, and I think he said an eye patch. I don't know. He gave a description. So they gain access into the castle. Now, I don't know if any of you guys were here thinking like, are they actually going to get Aemond? One, that would make me sad because I want to see more of Aemond. And this is where the game of telestrations and everything gets into a kerfuffle, right? Because Helena is the queen, and Helena has twins with Aegon, and one is the son and the heir. We see Aegon on the Iron Throne drinking with his friends, just kind of being a doofus, which is just pretty much what he is. I don't know about you guys, maybe I've just been watching too many fan theories, but I was ready for anything. I thought they were gonna walk in on Helena and Aemond like doing it, because I think there's a theory out there that he's the real father of the kids. I don't know. I was prepared for anything, but I didn't know what would happen. And so they go in and they hold a knife to Helena, and they make her indicate which one is the son. One of them thinks she's bluffing, one of them doesn't. Helena's a bit odd, right? And we never really know what's going through Helena's mind. Unfortunately, the guy goes and this scene was actually very treacherous and well done. Helena grabs the other child like as quickly as she can and kind of nopes out of there as fast as possible and like goes to her mom's room. I don't know, in some ways, like these are just still children with their own children married to their own siblings, so it's all kind of messed up. She runs like to her mom's room, which really reminded me of being a kid and running down the hall when you're scared of your mom's room, only her mom is riding Kristen Cole like her life depends on it. That I think Helena was just kind of just sits down with her child, and what was the last line was like, they killed him or something, or they took him, or he's gone. And then the episode ends. What a ride, guys. So there is clearly going to be some crazy fallout. So what do we know? We hear from Jace that the Starks and the Aarons seem to be pledging to the Targaryens. We know that the Hightowers, obviously, the Baratheons are Team Green. We know that Corlys is Team Black. Then we also have the dragon issue. One thing that I didn't mention was that the White Worm, Missandei, who is just still has a absolutely terrible accent, but she escaped the Rat Laris's fire and was a stowaway aboard a ship. So Daemon kind of trades her freedom for information, and he uses that information to get into the city. Anyway, that's all for now. I already can't wait for next week. I'm probably gonna watch this again, and of course watch like the Legends, like Alt Shift X, see what he has to say about it. But thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I am excited to maybe do a deeper dive on this, but certainly review the next episode of House of the Dragon. Until then, have a great week, and I will see you very soon. Bye. What did you think?